This is a special transmission. Jeremy and Darryl are joined by Anthony Brucali from TFU.info. Anthony is on site at New York Comic Con and got to get up close and personal with the new Transformers Siege toys that Hasbro revealed. Stay tuned for this special transmission.
What'd you guys think of everything?
It was impressive, man. A lot of really nice looking stuff.
Yeah, and I think I was surprised at how much more I liked it in person than I did when I saw the images back during San Diego.
Well, that was one of the things that I was wanting to ask you about, because the weathering we've been very critical about, because in the official images it just doesn't look good at all. Like particularly Starscream. I looked at the image they put out today of Starscream, and it looks horrible in bot mode. And I was just wondering what it looked like in person.
So the one we saw in person, specifically Starscream, was a hand-painted proto. You can really see that on the vehicle mode one. Mm-hmm. The Wave 1 figures we got a much better look at, and those were production pieces. And those the paint weathering, like I saw Sideswipe up close, and I thought I was going to hate it, and I really liked it. And it's one of those things they don't really show in vehicle mode. It's one of the things they tried to point out is that it shows more in the robot mode than the vehicle mode, and that the way the process goes, it's like a tampograph, but not exactly. So almost, I don't know if it was like no weathering pattern is the same between figures. Or if it's that they're not going to be 100% identical from toy to toy.
Well,
I can recall looking at the Squeaks figure when that was in package, and it literally just looked like somebody, likely a child, had dipped their fingers in a rust-colored paint and just streaked them across the figure. And yeah, no two figures were going to be the same. But it was not great, and obviously they've refined that somewhat here. But on the ones that you saw that were Wave 1, does it, for people who are interested in perhaps doing away with the weathering, does it look like something that'll come off?
That's a good question. It's certainly I don't think it was textured, so it's certainly something you could go over.
Okay.
As far as come off, see, it's funny, when I was looking at Sideswipe up close, the weathering on does he have weathering on his upper thighs, or is it just on the metal? I gotta take a quick look at this.
Well, from the one picture I see here, part of it's obscured by a weapon, but it's like around his knees are weathered.
Yeah, see, so I think it's either Sideswipe or Hound that I was looking at, and the weathering was on the upper thighs. No, it's not Sideswipe. It might have been Hound. I thought to myself that it almost looked like a sticker, like a clear sticker.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. They went out of their way to tell us they've done away with stickers entirely.
Oh, fantastic!
For this line. So yeah, that's one of the big pieces of good news out of
Starscream fans will be happy.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have got a standing ovation.
Maybe it was Optimus.
Yeah, Optimus has it on his thighs.
And he has it on his windows, on his chest windows. Sideswipe has it on his shins and his crotch plate.
You know what? It was Optimus. That's why I was thinking it was Sideswipe because of the red. It really did look like a sticker almost, and I feel like there's got to be a way either. I mean, it's going to be a way to you have to go out of your way to kind of kit bash it off. You could probably peel a layer that might do it, or maybe even some sanding might do it. But
I'm wondering maybe some solvent or something that would be gentle on the plastic, but could take the paint off.
Right, and I don't think it cuts terribly deep. The question was it a tampograph? That came up at one point, and they said it wasn't a tampograph, but the process was very similar.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions that I had about one of the figures that I actually really liked was the new leader class Shockwave. It's a really cool looking figure. That being said, the additional pieces to him kind of make him look a little odd. But what do you think of the idea that these figures, yes, combined, they all make a really neat looking spaceship, or on their own, they will turn into a kind of a hoverboard kind of dealio for the figure himself. But it looks like they're all pieces of Shockwave. So, could they combine, instead of being like this weird, spider kind of backpack thing, could they combine to form like armor for him to make him into a bigger Shockwave?
That's a good question. I don't think so. At least not in that respect. I'm just pulling up the picture now just so I can kind of figure out. So you mean like those gun handles that sit on his shoulders? Yeah,
they kind of look like his legs kind of thing. And, if they were to come apart and kind of wrap around the legs or bolt onto the legs at some point. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing at ideas here, because this seems to have this line has a very modular approach to it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at kind of things where you could, take parts from the backpack thing of Shockwave, which personally, when I'm getting this figure, when I get this figure, this backpack is not coming out of the box. Unless, of course, it can be used to make a giant Shockwave, which I will definitely do if that's the case. But because the figure alone is killer. But yeah, this little accoutrement that is added to him is kind of jank. But
does the backpack have batteries? I mean, it looks like there were LED lights in that piece.
So from the conversation we had with Hasbro, they didn't mention anything about lights, LED lights, but there is light piping.
Okay,
that I believe extends through in the vehicle mode, that you can shine a light through the. I'm speaking entirely of conjecture right now, because I'm not entirely sure this is what was said. It was something I overheard John Warden talking about, but I was busy doing other things. But he was saying you could shine a light through it. I don't know if that's in vehicle mode or in robot mode, but there's certainly light piping in there.
Okay. It would be okay. I see in the vehicle mode, his chest is kind of facing up. So if they had light piping working where it could funnel that light through the top out the front, that would be kind of a neat effect. But it's just the way that those little the clear pieces on the front looked. It just gave the appearance that there were like lights or something behind it.
Right, and those clear pieces on the front also look like the 3mm ports that they're using for the blast effects.
Okay, yeah.
So that's probably also part of what those circles are in the vehicle mode, so that you're giving it the blast effects. The line, as you said, is very modular. It's very meant to be played, from the small size up. And things do interconnect very well.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Starscream for a second.
Okay.
What up with that?
Let me pull up the picture. What up with what exactly?
So, okay. It's hearkening some kind of an image in my head of some kind of ship I've seen before. I don't want to say Star Wars, because Jeremy will kind of smack that idea down real fast.
There's nothing Star Wars about this.
Yeah. So it's something else I recognize. Maybe it's just the
Last Starfighter.
Maybe that's it. But it's almost a Tetrajet. It kind of gets cut off at the top there. The part that kind of bothers me about it is the legs just hanging from the bottom, and then the of course the chest of the robot mode just on the back side of the figure there in alt mode. It's a very decent attempt, and like I mentioned on Twitter, I think in response to one of your tweets, is that it's a good attempt. I'll get used to it and likely pick up the figure. But I think we've seen better. But I don't know. What is your opinion on these Hasbro Tetrajets here?
I mean, overall, as a concept, I like what they're going with. I like the idea of doing something that's similar to the pilot 3 episodes. I know it's not exact, but I'm one where the kibble doesn't necessarily bother me. I like it more that these things exist than if they're perfect. But it's funny. We were speculating, myself and Benny, when we were hanging out just waiting for the live stream to start, about because these photos leaked out. Not leaked, but IGN posted these photos out first of the official images of the Decepticons, and I was wondering if this is maybe a pre-tool for something that's not Seeker related, and that front of that nose cone is very Skyfire-y. And and in my head I was thinking maybe a couple part swaps and you have yourself a more show accurate Skyfire. So I part of me wants to think that maybe the Tetrajet was an afterthought, because even with those, and now that you're mentioning the legs as kind of kibble in vehicle mode kibble on Skyfire, those work as the lower base of the figure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could. For sure.
So many of these early wave figures, they're doing that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like this goes back to not Combiner Wars, but probably to Titan's Return, or maybe even as far back as Combiner Wars, where you're seeing the second iteration first. Look, we have to get so and so into the line because there needs to be an Optimus and a Starscream and a Megatron. So we're going to design another toy and then figure out how to make that into the core cast.
Oh, it goes back further than that. It goes back to, at least I can remember, it goes back to Generations with Springer over Sandstorm. Sandstorm was first. There's a lot in this line that I've actually started to like a lot more than I dislike. When the first images started to come out after Comic-Con, we started to see a lot of hate right off the top. People really started to shit on these designs. Off the top of my head, Skytread or Flywheels, I fucking love. It's just brilliant. And the Cog and Brunt, oh my god, these are fantastic ideas. Let's talk about Brunt for a second. He must have come out of left field as far as a new design. We weren't really thinking about him. We had heard about Six Gun. But I don't remember hearing anything about Brunt. What did you think about seeing him there?
It was one of those things I forgot about, because I believe I had talked about it somewhere on during San Diego Comic-Con. That I'm like, well, if they do Cog and they do Six Gun, they're going to have to do a Decepticon. It'll probably be Brunt because they were matching them to the Titans they had already done.
Sure.
Seeing him in person it was a surprise, because I was like, who the hell is that? Like, that was my first, like, it was like one of the first questions I asked in that big group session where we're all just taking photos around the diorama was who's the purple guy? And then when he said it was Brunt, it all kind of just clicked in my head. It's a neat figure. It's a neat concept. I had also asked about the weaponizer figure within the case pack, because the thing that I thought was weird about that whole idea as a deluxe class figure was not doing it as a Build-A-Figure, especially since Marvel and the other Hasbro properties tend to do Build-A-Figures, and they wanted to avoid they thought about it, but they wanted to avoid the randomness of case assortments getting screwed up, or things not shipping on time, or things
they haven't had the best luck lately.
Right, so I think that's part of why the weaponizer figures are part of the wave instead of built into other figures in the wave.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about Brunt, and John mentioned this during the conversation there, is that the color match is exact to Trypticon, so to Full Tilt. So it's the same exact purple. So it'll fully match with a Trypticon.
That's
cool.
Nice.
Did they go into any detail about why they picked the robot mode? Because G1 Brunt didn't have a robot mode. So where did they come up with that?
So, yeah, there was a little bit, and didn't really clarify, but
Well, I was actually gonna bring up the robot mode. Someone on TFW pointed out that it was an exact match to the Centurion droids in the IDW Stormbringer comic.
Okay, that might be it. I think it was a little bit of a deeper cut than that. So they got it from one of the designers in Japan, as far as like who the references of.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say they said Centurion.
Yeah.
Is that the droids comic?
I'm gonna dig up a picture here. I can put it in the Skype.
I wasn't sure if that went back to Centurion droid. There's a Centurion also in Marvel UK early on. So I was just wondering. I
don't know what the Marvel UK one looks like, but let's see. Where's the chat? Here's what I saw. Someone just posted it, and that robot mode is an exact match for Brunt, just not purple.
Oh, it's Walkie that posted that.
So you got an instant recolor there too, and I think with these like with this guy in Cog, we're going to see so many different color variations.
So looking at that link, and this, I'm just looking at the source. It's Walkie, and if Walkie says it is, then it's probably
yeah.
Cool. So we also see Soundwave in exceedingly G1 looking form, which I'm happy about. It's pretty cool. Answer me this. Does his eject function work, or is it just a push-pull kind of a function?
No, it works. It flops the door almost. John demonstrated a handful of times, and actually on I was live streaming it on Twitter. So that door works. He can actually push the button himself. Yeah. You can put his hand to the button.
Cool. That's cool.
It does flip out. I've seen it flip partially out, and I've seen it flip all the way down. And that's also another painted model. Yes. They had a Soundwave. It wasn't a final production piece, so some of the gimmicks tend to be a little wonky when they try to demonstrate them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to answer your question, yes, they flip out.
Perfect. That's fantastic. I love that.
And he also turns into his lamppost mode.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. We were speculating about that last week.
So yeah, in the diorama that they made, John Warden had made the diorama that everything was on, and he made it point to point out there were a bunch of Easter eggs in there, and one of the Easter eggs in there is the Soundwave toy painted entirely black and transformed into the lampshade mode, the lamppost awesome. Mode. Yeah.
Now the company alt mode though is not a tape deck or a lamppost though.
No, it is a futuristic hovercraft, I believe, is what they were going with.
Right. So that's an interesting choice for Soundwave, but you know what? I'll go with it. That's we're doing things a little differently here. He's cassette tapes and tape decks are not exactly common anymore, so let's go with something a little different. What surprised you? Was it Refractor?
Yeah, actually, that's you don't have to go any further than that. The Refractor was probably the big surprise as far as figure reveals go. I love, and then finding out, like seeing those pictures online, and then going in there and seeing them in the display, and realizing that the circle piece on the chest is a removable piece, so you can create the drones and you can create the viewfinder character in the middle, and that they all combine into a full camera mode together. So so they're troop builders. So if you want to do a G1 style reflector, you can buy 3 refractors and put them together. And actually, someone had tweeted at me during the show, and I did ask, the way they're designed, can you make an infinitely long camera? And the answer is yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the new price points, that'll get very pricey.
Yeah. Well, you get your 3 for 2 sale, and it won't be as bad.
We don't have Toys R Us, Daryl.
Oh yeah, that's unfortunate. Sorry about that.
The one other thing that really did surprise me was about Skytread flywheels, whatever you want to call them, that he is cross compatible with Battletrap.
Really?
So you can swap his halves with Battletrap's halves. You can put his top on the car bottom for Battletrap and vice versa, and they scale together. And I was told they are the exact same size, but to my eye, Skytread looks a touch larger, but not by a lot. More like he's a jet in a tank, and he looks bigger.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fun. I enjoy that. That's gonna be a neat little play pattern that you wouldn't have expected. It's likely going to be the same transformation pattern. So the bottom half will just have his head that'll shove up the top half's ass. That'll be the combination gimmick.
Not exactly, because the Skytread components don't become individual robots, so they're just vehicles.
They don't.
And robot halves. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's another little twist there. That's interesting. Okay, cool.
That might be how you can get away with one of the pieces being a little bigger.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right.
A couple other things to note probably were names. As far as like the Wave 1 Micromasters go, Flack is the name for that figure once again. It was Flask at San Diego. And Whisper is Visper, Visper.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he's got a German accent.
Yes, that'll be awesome.
And the cassettes. I don't know if you talked about Laserbeak and Ravage, but they're going to be sold at the Micromaster price point as a 2-pack.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I saw that. So
Soundwave won't come with any then?
I'd assume not. He wasn't shown with any, as far as I know.
That Laserbeak, I really like. It looks so good.
And there was a neat twist there, is that they gave him the head that he has in the first episode, and the first time you see him, it's a Cybertronian face on him, not the bird face that you would normally see on him.
Mm-hmm. It kind of fits, the whole line is supposed to be Cybertronian based.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of the vehicles are Earth modes with lights.
Yeah, well, they went into that a little bit too. They, at the end of the day, they still have to sell this line to kids and collectors. So, you can't have everything that's this futuristic thing, and then the kids go, well, what's that thing that it's not going to appeal to them. So you have to ground it in something they're going to recognize.
I think they're doing a pretty good mix here. Also, just targeting the collectors plus having a fun play pattern for kids. Because so many of these things, like what was it that we were talking about? Just things like the Brunt, where you can just take a figure and add on pieces of him to another figure, or Cog, same thing. And then the I don't know. It just seems like this line has a lot more play to it than the last couple.
Well, certainly more than Power of the Primes, I think. I really like the play pattern on Titan's Return, but yeah, this certainly has this is more focused on that 5mm and that 3mm points. It's very Armada-esque in terms, like throwing like mini cons onto things. Like that has that same kind of vibe.
Yeah, well, speaking of Armada, we have a direct homage with the what are they calling it? The Airstrike Micromaster team, which combined to a sword that resembles the Star Saber from Armada.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Stormcloud and Visper. I think Stormcloud. No, I forgot what the other one is, but
I don't know if this
I think it's Stormcloud.
This picture doesn't mention the names.
Yeah, the official picture, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember where I saw that, but might be in the product copy.
I was telling Daryl I really like the design of that, but my Armada Star Saber never held together at all. So
no, I have one on my shelf now, and it still does. I have one that came with Rampage, which is the Japanese version of Wheeljack, and yeah, it falls apart all the time. But it's also three planes, whereas this is two, so it might have a better shot of holding together.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to see Omega Supreme at all? No,
they didn't. They decided not to bring it out during the 1 p.m. session. It was just their choice to not do that. They felt like they wanted to reward the people that went to the panel. So the only thing I've seen were maybe 2 pictures online that I ended up retweeting at some point.
Okay. Well, Sabertron has a stream of it. Darryl and I were watching it a little while ago. It's going to be pretty big. It's how big would you say that tank was that we saw?
Deluxe
sized?
No, that's probably bigger than that. I'd say Voyager size.
Okay. So yeah, they just showed off the tank part.
Yeah, it's big. I mean standard Titan size here. So we're talking close to 2 feet, maybe a little less.
Yeah, I would assume that the tank we were guessing that tank was about a Voyager from the images, and it has to sit a Micromaster. I thought I heard that the Micromaster was going to be named Countdown.
Yep,
which is pretty awesome on its own. And then I mean it's certainly the right idea.
Yeah, they're keeping them up. I'm impressed with what they picked. A lot of people were hoping for Scorponok, but I mean we just had Triptychon and then Predaking, so it's 2 baddies, and now they got to give us a goodie. So yeah,
I think we were due for an Autobot.
Yep.
Oh, and just something I completely forgot that's always worth mentioning. Little things we saw throughout the day. The Ravage cassette has a 5mm port on it, so you can attach it to various parts. It's supposed to be like shielding the cassettes.
Yeah, I saw in the diorama they had him on the back of Hound in vehicle.
Yeah, I was going to say we had them put him on the back of Hound to see if that would work, and it does.
That's very cool. We're also getting a Megatron, who's a tank. No surprise there. We were optimistic he would be a gun again, but that was,
it's never going to happen.
very pie in the sky. But thoughts on Megatron? Did you like the way he looks there? I mean, it's not impressive by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a cool looking robot mode.
It's a very cool looking robot mode. It's a really nice looking tank mode. I'm just pulling up the picture now, but I didn't get to get up close to this. The cool thing is that gun, you can make that gun enormous on his arm.
It stretches out?
The fusion cannon is a 5mm port on the end. So like if you look at the tank mode, you can see the fusion cannon sitting in the back, in the middle section of the turret with the spring-loaded gun attached to it in the front. And so that can actually attach to his arm entirely like that as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh, so the gun that's in the middle of his sword can attach.
Yeah, I think that fires a missile. I could be wrong, but it looks like it's a missile launcher. And the sword, one of the cool things about this, 2 of the cool things about the sword is one, the design was inspired by the G1 Japanese Megatron sword.
Yeah. And
then if you look on the top of the sword, you'll see notches. So some of the smaller figures, the Battlemaster figures like Lionizer, have swiping effects, like they're meant to, and so those are interchangeable with those tab pieces up top.
Very
so
cool.
You can make it look like, so you can put that blast effect swipe on the top of the sword.
That's nice. Pretty cool. Yeah. Very cool. It looks like a very fun, exciting line,
Yeah, I was a little bummed about the character choice back in June, but the more I think about it, the more, once you get past wave 1, or wave between wave 1 and 2, it's going to expand out into some more interesting choices. It has to.
Oh yeah,
especially with the way that they've been retooling things. They seem to be able to make unique figures out of their existing base. So get the figures that'll sell first, and that'll kind of pay for the stuff down the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely looks like we've got at least 2 waves worth of stuff here.
Well, was there anything else that you saw that interested you?
I was actually kind of surprised at the Cyberverse figures that we saw. It seems a lot like with RID, where they didn't really have it in the first wave or two, first wave and change. They kind of still trying to find the design scheme. Soundwave has this really neat feature where he ejects Laserbeak out of his chest in the Warrior class figure.
Okay.
It doesn't detach. He's kind of like a cuckoo clock almost, but it's silly and it's neat. And he has knees, which I know that was the complaint on Shockwave, right?
Yeah.
The figure really doesn't have knees. He has knees, and then Prowl has these flip over shoulder cannons, so it looks very G1-y, but he's got these spring loaded shoulder cannons that rotate from his back right onto his shoulders. So there's some neat twists there. And now with One Step, and not that I'm a huge fan of One Step, but they've added accessories to the toys. So the Megatron comes with a missile. There's some spinning weapons involved with some of the other characters, and it's nice to see that they're upping the game with some of those lower price point figures.
Very cool.
Oh, and Baby Dinobots, which was kind of old news by the time we got there, but it's neat that there's all 3. And the strafe is named Swoop, I think. At least I've been hearing different things. I haven't really actually gotten to read anything official today, so I don't know.
They don't mention it here in this article, but they did on the stream that we were watching. They brought this out after Omega Supreme. They're like, we got something else that's even bigger that we want to show off. And they brought this out, and we're like, no, this really isn't. You should have led with this and then gone into Omega Supreme.
That's bigger for the younger crowd. Get Eric Crownover on, and he'll probably tell you how excited he is for it.
Yeah, he's waiting for a Studio Series. Bisque, I'm sure. I will say I do like the look of these little mini Dinobots. They obviously don't. Well, they don't look like they transform. I don't know if they do or not, but they look really cute. So. Well, I mean, I think and wrap this up here. Thanks a lot for talking with us.
Oh yeah, no worries at all. This is fun.
You want to plug your stuff?
Yeah, I can give a quick plug. So, the podcast is Transformers University. You can find that wherever you listen to find podcasts, such as this one. There's also the YouTube channel, youtube.com/TFU.info, and of course the website, www.tfu.info, the world's longest running transforming toy archive.
Awesome. Yeah, and such a good resource.
Thank you.
Yeah.